In this lesson, we're going to be structuring our database for the client portal. Now remember, Softr is a front-end only tool. That means wherever your data is, Airtable, HubSpot, Google Sheets, SQL, Monday.com, we allow you to take that data and connect it to Softr. So with all good applications, it starts with your database and the way that you're structuring your data. Now, we're not going to build the entire database in this video, but I want to lay the foundations for how we're going to build the database together. And as we go to build more functionality throughout the length of this course, we'll continue to add to our database as we go to keep it in bite-sized segments, okay? So let's start out in Airtable. You can see here that this is a brand new Airtable base, okay? And Airtable is just the data source that we're using, but you can use any data source for this. And so here in the top left corner, we see that this is our tab. This is our table, right? And we're going to call this table our user table, okay? So I just clicked on it and I renamed it there. Now, if I want to create another table and I'm going to say start from scratch, I can pick a kind of table that I want to create. And in this case, I'm going to create a table called company because remember, we have users and then those users can belong to a company, which is the clients. Right? So now we have two different tables here. Now within the tables, we have what we call fields here, right? So each column is a new field. And this column allows us to save data to this field. And if I go click on this arrow and go to edit field, I can see that I could change the name of this column. I can also change the input format for this column, right? Now this is very important because we'll be using a lot of different types of formats. Now the format type essentially tells the database what kind of data you're saving there, all right? Now name, it would be a single line text. But if it was going to be like a bio, we'd want to use a long line text. If it was the date of birth, we'd want to use dates. If it was the phone number, we want to use phone number, email, URL, etc. There's a lot of really good formats here. And whenever you create a new field, when you do so by clicking on the button here, let's just say a photo, then you got to find the input type that it would match to. In this case, if I go here, I'm going to search attachment. And then I have my new field for a photo, which in this case, we're going to use a headshot. All right. Now, if I want to drag this around, I can just click on it and drag it over there just to reorganize. So far on the user table, I have name, photo, and I want to add email. Okay. So I'm going to go into edit this field, update the name to email, and update the type to email. Excellent. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to add their phone number. All right, so I'm going to have phone, and then I'm going to go to phone. Fantastic. And now we have something called here a status, right? And I'm going to switch this to their user role. This is the role that the user is going to have. And remember in our last lesson, we talked about client and admin. Those are our user roles, okay? And this is structured as a single select. Single select means that I can select one of the options below. And right now we see that there are three options. So we're going to delete one of them and then update the options to client or, admin, and then delete that. So now I have client and admin as my two options for my user role. That means that this user in this row could be in client or an admin. And that's very important because this is what we're going to be using this user role to dictate what we show in our application to the user. Are we going to show them the client experience? Or we're going to show them the admin experience. This is a very important field for that reason. All right. So we're going to create a couple more fields here. And then I'm going to show you a couple other tables that are going to be really important to this build. And then we're going to get to the next lesson and keep building. So in addition to the role, we also want to have skills. All right. So what kind of skills does this user have? And for this, it's going to be a multi-select. And I'm going to say SEO, paid ads, because remember, we're a marketing agency, marketing strategy, branding, website design, automation, and web development, just to name a few. All right. And since that's a multi-select, I can click into this and I can select multiple things here and it's going to take it. Whereas if I click into the single select, I can only select one thing. All right. And for these skills are really only applicable to the admin because it's the person that is doing the work at the marketing agency. Say you want to match the employee at the agency to a client that needs these skills. then you can use this field of skills to match it to that admin. And then over here, we're just going to say, I'll just use a name like this, and then we'll add some other stuff like example.com, etc. So that's good for now. And if we wanted to add more entries, we'd add more rows right there. But otherwise, the user table is pretty good. Now let's talk about the company table quickly. We're going to switch over to the company. And for this, we're going to have the company name. We're going to switch this to industry. And what industry are they in? And it's going to be a single select. So I'm just going to type in single select. And for this industry, we're going to say real estate, automotive, hotel, legal, just to name a few. We'll say that what is the size of the company? So size of company. And whenever I'm labeling my fields, I like to have them as clear as possible, just to make it really easy for anyone else to come into this spreadsheet, this database, and to see what this all means. All right. So size of company. And what would a size of company be? Would it be a multi-select or a single select? Well, really, it's just one value. Since it's one value, it's going to be a single select. So single select, and I'm going to say 0 to 50. And this could be anything that you want. This is just an arbitrary example that I'm using. For your case, it could be 0 to 1, 0 to 5, etc. And I'm going to do 50 to 100, 100 to 500, and 500 to 1,000. That's going to be good for me. All right, so I have my user, my company table. I'm going to add another table here. And this table is going to be called projects. Now, it's going to be, for this, we're going to have project name, and we're going to have a project description. I'm going to go up here, edit this, and it's going to be project description. And the long text actually works really well. And if you wanted to enable rich text formatting, you can toggle this on. It allows you to include like checklists and hyperlinks and all this kind of stuff. But in this case, we don't need it in our project description. We're going to do a status for this. And so I'm just going to reuse this field right here. It's going to be status. And matter of fact, these statuses could work pretty well. And I'm just going to update this to just be project status, just to be a little bit more clear for me. And then I'm going to say, what company is this project assigned to? Okay. Now this is going to be an interesting one, the way we structure. Remember, we have users, companies, and projects. And whenever we create a new project, we need to assign that to a company. That way, when the client logs in and views their company, they only see the projects associated to their company. Okay. Now for this, we're going to use what Airtable calls a linked record, right? And so I'm going to say the company, and I'm going to go over here and say link to another record. And I'm going to say the company. All right. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to find a value in the company table and to link it to this to create a connection to pull the two together. So that way I can say, say company A is created. I can say that the company that for this project would be company A. And I can access all the data of company in that way too. It's a really cool way to structure your database in a smart way. Now, usually you only need one company assigned to a project. So I'm not going to say you can allow multiple records linked. This would be an example of like, if you had a task and you wanted multiple people assigned to that task, this would be great. But otherwise, you don't need it here. And then otherwise, we're good to save. All right. So let me show you something here. I'm going to say project example. Okay. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to create a company. I'm going to say test company. I now have a company and I'm going to go to my projects. I'm going to click here and I'm going to say test company. There it is. So you see that it auto-filled and brought it in. And now I have this connection. And whenever I click on this, I could see all of the data for this company. So I can go in, I can just fill out some data real quick, right? And now the magic of this is that data wasn't saved here because I updated the data in the company. So I went to the company, I updated the data there because I changed the information for the linked record. All right, now we're going to talk about linked records, roll-up fields, and some more things throughout this course. So don't get overwhelmed with it yet if it is overwhelming. We're going to keep taking it baby steps. But hopefully that goes to show you how you can start to build out the database for this course. And again, we're going to continue to build this as we build more in Softr. But usually you always start with your data because you have your data stored somewhere. And so maybe you already know this part of database building and application building is starting with the data. But if not, Hopefully this laid some good foundations for how you can start to structure your database, and we'll continue to add on to it as we progress through this course. Otherwise, I will see you on the next lesson, and it's going to be another fun one.